75% of my clients I never meet. I just do everything over internet and telephone. So that is not an issue. I wanted to talk about documents, how things have changed, what you need, the lead time, all of that, because as people are getting vaccinated, as travel is opening up, people are finding that documents and getting documents has changed. So first of all, what's going to be very important in domestic travel is that everybody has their driver's license with the real ID. And the way you can check that is on your driver's license. If you have the star in the corner, then you have the real ID. If you do not, then you want to go ahead and get that ID renewed so that the new one will have that. That means you've been vetted, you've been checked, and you will not be able to get on a domestic flight without the real ID. The dates have changed a lot. It was supposed to be in 2020, then 21, now 22, and actually I think it's May 2023. But just get it done and have it on there, and then you won't have to worry about it. Same thing with passports. Now that we haven't traveled in almost a year and a half, a lot of people's passports have expired and they didn't realize that. And most countries will not let you in unless you have at least 6 months left on your passport. Where it used to be, you would get your passport renewed and back to you in 4 to 6 weeks. Now the time is 18 weeks to 22 weeks. So if you need to get a passport, if you're planning any travel before, the first of next year or in the spring of next year, go ahead and get your passports renewed now because it is taking forever. There is no such thing. Even the expedited are taking, I think the expedited are taking up to 2.5 to 3 months, where it used to take 2 weeks. So this is a great time to pull those passports out, check those dates. And if you're within a year, I would say go ahead and get them renewed. Because again, it's going to take 18 weeks to 22 weeks. And you have to have 6 weeks left from the time 6 months left from the time you return from your trip, or most foreign countries will not let you in. So go ahead and check that. Now, I think the only places you don't need a passport are continental U.S., Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. You need to, for almost all foreign travel, you have to show that you are vaccinated. And that means with either 1 with the Johnson & Johnson shot or with 2 with the Pfizer and Moderna. You will have to have had both of the 2-shot regimens, and that has to be done 2 to 4 weeks before you travel. You can't just get it the day before and think you're going to go. Most of you, or all of you that received your shots, will have a vaccination card. That will show what shot you had, how many times you had the shot, and it will also show the dates. Now, it's very important. That is going to be just like having a passport, just like having a Social Security card. You need to take care of that. My first recommendation is to take out that card. Do not carry it in your wallet. Do not carry it in your purse, because if your purse or wallet is stolen, then you've lost your card. Take a picture of it with your phone. Keep it on your phone. Make copies. Keep your original in a safe, and keep the copies in your purse or in your wallet. Give it to a friend. I carry mine I keep all of my originals in my safe, and I carry a copy with my passport. That's going to be very important as we move into traveling more. The other thing is, do not laminate that card, because more than likely we're going to have to get booster shots, and they will have to be recorded on your card. If you laminate it, when you try to take that lamination off, it will damage your card, and it's just better, don't laminate it. There are those plastic sleeves that you can put them in. As long as you can take that back out, you are good to go, but do not laminate it. Yeah, and treat it like your birth certificate. Treat it like store the originals. We talked about that. Don't post your card on any social media. Don't, you know, you can say you got vaccinated, but do not post it on social media. Believe it or not, already there is a black market for vaccination cards, and don't want your information, because your card has personal information. You don't want anybody seeing that on social media. Oh, last thing on your vaccination card, if you do lose it, you can go back to where you got your shot. All of the states have a registry, and you can get a copy, another copy. It may take you some digging to find out where and all that fun stuff. So try not to lose it. But if you do, don't panic. There are ways to get a new card. If you can backtrack to, you know, where you got the original and where that information is being stored first. But then something else that you guys asked for was packing lists and what to do now that it's post-COVID, we hope. Although there are certain things you should do for every type of travel you're doing. First of all, you really, really want to plan and know where you're going, because even now, different states, different countries have different COVID rules. Mexico is still wide open. You don't have to take a test to get there. You don't have to have 6 months left on your passport. It is very, very wide open. So there are different things there. Now, anytime you leave the U.S., regardless, if you cross a border, if you fly to Europe, which is just now opening, if you fly to a Caribbean island, you have to retest, or you have to test 3 days before coming back to the U.S., and you have to have a negative test to get back on the plane to get back home. That is not negotiable. That has to happen if you have left the U.S. The U.S. has not loosened their requirements for that. The U.S. is still not letting land travel between Mexico and the U.S. or between Canada and the U.S. They're getting closer to offering that, but still they haven't loosened those requirements. So it's very important that you check those travel requirements, or call a travel agent and let them check it for you, because things are literally changing daily. Thailand opened up, and now Thailand closed back up because of the Delta variants, and now they're starting to open a couple of their islands. So every day things are changing, and you really have to know what to look for before you go. I would say in this age and time of post-COVID, if we can call it that, use a reputable travel agent, supplier, somebody that if something happens, that they can help you straighten it out or get your money back. Or before setting off, this is really, really important. You don't know where you're going if they have all of the things necessary to keep you safe. So it's very important that you pack your own. I get a baggie. I put in small hand sanitizer, wipes, aspirin, anything that's going to help keep me safe. Extra face masks, I put those in there. You still have to wear face masks on public transportation, airplanes, buses, trains, anything like that. You can't even go into a airport without putting your mask on. So, be prepared. You have to wear a mask for the whole flight, not down here, but over your nose and mouth the whole flight. And they're very, very strict on that. And if you get kicked off the flight, you will never be able to fly that airlines for the rest of your life, not just for a month or two, but for the rest of your life. And you really don't want to do that. So pack your own, make sure you're safe. When I go on the flight, I take out my own hand sanitizer. I take out my own wipes. I wipe down the seat arms. I wipe down the tray. I wipe down the buckle on your seatbelt. You don't think about all those places. And then if you are going to the restroom, then take your wipe and wipe the door handle before you open it. You don't realize how many places there are for germs to lurk when you are traveling. So be safe. A lot of countries now, when you're traveling, you have to fill out forms. And a lot of the countries now make you carry travel insurance to cover you if you came down with COVID while you are there. So there's more rules, more regulations. And because they need to be able to track you if somebody on your flight comes down with COVID, you have to fill out a tracking form so they know where you are, how to reach you, where to let you know if anything from that flight or from that train or from wherever transportation you're on, if there is an issue and you need to go into quarantine, they have to be able to find you. So there's more paperwork. And then, of course, you have to have a copy of your COVID test, unless you're going to Mexico. That's the only place that I know that you do not have to have a COVID test to get into the country. Again, you have to have it to get back into the U.S. But most countries are making sure you have a test within 72 hours of getting on the plane to arrive in their country. And if you go to any of the countries' websites, they usually have a calendar now that says if you're leaving to come here on Wednesday, then this would be the day you would have to have your test by. So that is very helpful to know, to make sure. During COVID, when the flights weren't going, they furloughed many of their pilots. And because it's been over 6 months, now the pilots have to go back and get recertified before they can fly again. And there are not enough simulators for that, and there's not enough pilots. So that's why flights are getting canceled, is because the pilots that are flying can only fly a certain amount of time before they have to rest, before they can fly again. And the pilots that they're bringing back have to be recertified. So that is one of the issues right now with not having enough flights. And so that's also why you're seeing that flights that used to go from one destination to another regularly, they've canceled those. They're no longer offering those, or they're only offering 3 a day instead of 10 a day. Also, there's they're not running very many nonstop flights. I don't know if you've tried to look, but nonstop flights are very rare. They're flying into different destinations, offbeat places, so that they can maximize their pilots' flying time, which is crazy, but this is how it's working. Same thing being, if you've tried to rent a car, it's virtually impossible to get a car, or the price is 2 to 3 times more than it would have been a year ago. And the same thing during COVID, the rental companies sold off many of their cars so they wouldn't have to pay taxes on them, for them just to be sitting in the lot. And now they can't get enough cars for their clients who are trying to rent. It's going to take a while for inventory to build up again. So those are 2 things that have been really affecting travelers after COVID. Let's see, of course, COVID test, we talked about that. Take your medical card. And this is something a lot of people don't think about, especially older people like us. You should actually take a picture of every one of your prescription bottles and keep that with your, or I have my husband's, a spreadsheet with all of his medications, what they're for, what doses, all that. Something like that. You need to carry your prescription with you, because if something happens, if your bags get lost, I recommend, of course, you carry all your medication with you on a carry-on, but that doesn't mean you sat it down and then forgot to pick it back up. So you always want to have your prescriptions in somewhere with you. I like to just take pictures of them and have them on my phone. So I have everything right there on the bottle. I can show a pharmacist and I can get the medication refilled somewhere. I don't know if any of you, how tech savvy you are, but whenever you travel, there's an app called WhatsApp. It's WHAT, and it's down there on there, WHAT''S and then app. If you go to the App Store and pull that up, this is a great, I use it all the time in business and in travel. It's a great app where you can call and talk to anybody in the US and it doesn't charge you. And it's very easy. You can send text on it. You can do voice calls. Text seems to be the easiest. If you're meeting a guide somewhere or a transfer, it's great to text them and say, hey, I'm here. So that's a great app. If you're tech savvy and you can load it, then I recommend to use that when you travel. And I also make copies of my passport, and I carry a copy of my passport and my driver's license somewhere other than my purse when I travel. I usually try to give it to someone else I'm traveling with, and I take a copy of theirs in case something happens. Because if you lose it, your passport, while you are traveling, it's a nightmare. But if you have a copy of it, at least the embassy or the flights will, believe it or not, let you fly on a copy of a passport. Or I don't know about the passport. I know you can fly on a copy of your driver's license if you have lost your driver's license. So make sure you take copies of that. And it's also good to make copies of the front and back of your credit cards for the same reason. If somebody steals your credit card, you can call the credit card company. You have the number right there of the card. You have the number to call them on the back, and you can put a block on that card as soon as you realize it's gone. So that's good information to have with you. Another thing you need to realize too is some countries you're going to need a visa on. So make sure that you, again, have those documentations ready and you know what you're doing. If you travel a lot, get the global entry. Global entry is only good if you're going outside the United States. It will only help you get back into the US faster. So global entry means that you go and you get an interview at the airport. They check to make sure you're a good citizen, all that good stuff. You pay, I think, $100 for 5 years. But that also includes TSA pre-check in domestic airports, which is normally $50. So it will save you so much time, so much stress, and you can use it to come back in even on a cruise ship. Anytime there's a foreign, you're in a foreign country and you come back into the US and there's the check station, you can use your global entry to bypass all of those long lines and literally go to a kiosk, put your passport there, type in a couple of things, it takes a picture, and you're done. The only bad thing is, and some of my clients think that means they're going to get to their next flight really fast. If you are not carrying, if you have not checked luggage, that is the truth. But if you've checked luggage, there is no guarantee, because sometimes those bags get in 30 minutes, sometimes they get in 10 minutes, sometimes they get in an hour, depending on who's out there and how many planes came in and how many people are trying to throw bags on at a time. So if you think global entry will get you in between your flights faster, that is not true. It will get you through customs faster. And if you're carrying a carry-on, yes, you can do it. But I recommend that you take at least 2.5 hours to 3 hours between your connecting flights if you are coming back to the US, because those lines can be very long. I would not book anything less than 2.5 hours in between if I was coming back to the US and trying to catch another domestic flight back home. Ugh, travel insurance. Don't go anywhere without travel insurance these days. Not only is it good for medical, but it's good if your luggage gets lost, if your flights are delayed, if your flights are canceled. There are so many other reasons to have travel insurance, and there's different types of travel insurance. Some are cancel for any reason. You only need that if you, that's only for before you leave. Once you leave, that doesn't help you at all. So once you want to make sure once you leave on the trip that you have good medical coverage, and if something happens and you need to be airlifted back home, you want to make sure you have plenty of insurance. And mark your bags. Make sure your bags, not only you have information on the outside of your bag, but you should also have information taped on the inside of your luggage. There is the luggage, there's a big luggage place somewhere south here where all the luggage that they can't identify goes to, and they sell everything inside. That is why you have to just take a big card. It could be a business card. It could be a postcard. It could be any kind of card. And fill out all your information and tape it on the inside of your luggage so that your luggage is not lost. And go light. Carry 3 pairs of the same color pants and a couple of shirts and some scarves and a jacket and 1 pair of shoes. Go light and do pack in layers, so that you have some things put on. Get one of those DOP kits, or as my daddy had, one of the shaving kits, and put all of your cables in there, all of your chargers, all of your batteries, everything you need, put in one kit so that you're not digging and trying to find all those different cables and things. It's all organized, and just pop that in your carry-on. I like to carry that in my carry-on because I'm always using my computer in between airports, and I want to make sure my phone, and most flights now, especially international, actually have chargers and, well, not chargers, but electrical outlets and cables where you can plug in your cables. Also, on your carry-on, pack a change of clothes. I know people say that all the time. Just carry everything. Your medicine needs to be with you. A change of clothes needs to be with you. Your passports, any kind of documentation, you need to keep that with you. And do not pack it in your big suitcase because you won't be able to get to it when you need it. And yeah, it's good I never think about this until I get home, but pack a nightlight in your suitcase, because you're in dark, or if you're in a interior cabin on a cruise, oh my gosh, those are the darkest cabins you have ever seen, which is great for sleeping. But of course you need to have a charger, and you need to make sure it's the right charger. There's an adapter, and there's a charger, and there's adapters, and you need the adapter for the country you're going to, else you will be blowing out your hair dryer or your curling iron or your electric toothbrush, and that's no fun. I also recommend, and I carry a blanket in my carry-on and a travel pillow, because you don't know where you're going to end up. And you want to, first of all, there's nothing worse than being, and the airlines are not giving you blankets or pillows anymore because of COVID. Those are not sanitary. So you need to carry your own with you if you get cold easily or uncomfortable. And so carry both of those I just put everything in a backpack. And then I can sling it over my shoulder. If you can't carry a backpack, then the rolling packs are invaluable. Throw everything in there, roll it, and then ask somebody else to help you with it, because mine gets very heavy. Those are the main points on when you're traveling, what to do before your vacation. And I wanted to add some Packing tips. There's your chargers, your headphones or earbuds. Again, most of the airlines are now charging for those instead of giving them free post-COVID. So and they're not, international flights are still feeding you, but domestic flights are not doing any alcohol or serving either just water or orange juice or a quick drink, but the service with the snacks and all of that, depending on who you're on, they're not doing any meals. Sometimes they're not doing hard. I don't think even Southwest is doing peanuts anymore because of the allergy issues. But if you think you're going to get a snack on the plane, you better bring it with you because everything has been streamlined and taken away post-COVID. Cash, this was one that's very important. I don't get a bunch of cash in the denomination in the country I'm going to's currency because number one, it costs a lot if you do that here. Number two, you get a better rate, believe it or not, if you get to the country and then go to the ATM and use your ATM card, it's going to give you money in that foreign currency and the rate's going to be much, much better. So what I do is I maybe take $100 and I'll get it changed at the airport into the currency where I'm going. That way you have money to tip people, pay the taxi driver, pay the person that's going to help you with your bags, or, I've got to have a cup of coffee, you've got money for that. Then the next day I ask the tour guide or wherever I am for the closest ATM, and then I get my money changed there. The good thing about that is you can, if you have money left over, you can get it changed back once you get to the U.S. Your Medicare or any of that, it is not valid once you leave the U.S. But if you're traveling domestically, you need to make sure you have all of your medical cards with you. So again, make copies, don't keep them all in the same place, all of that good stuff. Keep copies on your phone if that works. And then we talked about having your list of medications, your travel pillows, your batteries, and it's good to have a list of your emergency contacts, just in case. And with, again, traveling foreign countries, you're going to have to put that down so they can do tracking for you if something happens. Seasickness medicine, sunscreen, you definitely want sunscreen and after sun lotion because it never fails. Most people get sunburned their first day. Insect repellent, a travel first aid kit. That's so important to have, and most people don't pack that. And a hanging toiletry bag is great because you can just hang it on the back of your bathroom door or your cruise ship bathroom or whatever, and then everything is right there at eye level, and you can you don't have to, there's not very much room, especially in a cruise ship bathroom. The last thing I wanted to talk about, cruising is starting again. It's been happening in the Caribbean. The first ship has actually gone out of Fort Lauderdale and more ships are following. Right now 99% of the cruises will not let you on if you are not fully vaccinated. They're requiring that 95% of the guests and crew members be vaccinated. That 5% is being allowed for families with kids who are under 12 that cannot be vaccinated yet. So they're not punishing those kids. But before you get on, everybody will have to have had a test. They will be doing temperature checks. They will be doing testing on board the ship periodically. And then again, because when you leave on a cruise from an American port, it's called a closed loop. So you do not have to have a passport when you're cruising out of an American port, nor will you need to be tested 3 days before you get back to the U.S. because you are on literally an American, a loop is what they're calling it, or what they call it. It's a closed loop. So that requirement will not happen. Any of the cruise lines will not let you cruise without being fully vaccinated and showing proof of vaccination, and still testing before you get on board, because we all know that even though you're vaccinated, you can still contract COVID. So those are some of the things. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is I am actually leading a group trip to Alaska next July 11th through 18th. I will be traveling with the group. I will be organizing private excursions. And with the cruise, you also will have the ability, if you want, to add the 5-day Denali train ride into Denali National Park in a 5-day tour, land tour, to go along with the 7-day cruise. So it would be a 12-day package. And almost all of the cruises are filled for next year already. So if you've ever wanted to travel to Alaska and you don't want to go alone, this is also perfect for single guests, because again, I will be going along and leading, and I will be there for to help anyone, and you're not traveling alone. There will be a group of us. That does not mean you have to stay with the group. It just means if you want to participate in some of the group events and not travel alone, then that is very open for anybody. If anyone is interested in that, you can just shoot me an email or give me a call, and I will be glad to answer any questions. In the same respect, I do have a group going out of Florida, December 12th through 19th of this year that still has space. So if you know anybody wanting to do a family trip or a Christmas trip, cruising is always a great way to do that. And things will be changing. I'm interested to see how things are going to change on the cruise ships. No more buffets. They will have what it looks like, but the buffets will be served by people behind, and it'll be different. But they are being very cautious. The cruise lines that have already started sailing, several have had a couple people get sick, even though they were fully vaccinated. But they're following all the procedures, there's lots of procedures now, and it's really going well. And cruise sales for 21, 22, and 23 have exploded, and that's the highest sales in cruises. People are pent up demand, and people aren't scared. Well, most people aren't scared to get back on a cruise ship. I know I'm not. I'm ready, but they're taking all precautions, and so it will be something that they're not taking lightly. And I think cruising will be back in full force. I think in 2022, and we don't know what's going to happen. So again, use somebody that you know that is a reputable travel agent or travel company. And if you have any questions, that's what I'm always here for. I love answering questions. I love talking travel. And if I can help you in any way, just let me know. Thank you.